Hey everybody, Michael Griswold here, and this video is entitled, Why in the World Would a Bank Accept Less Than What They Are Owed? I'm doing this video because I've gotten a lot of questions from people who are wanting to get involved in real estate but don't really understand how a short sale works and why a bank would accept one. So, the purpose of this is to clear that up. Okay, let's say for example that a homeowner owes $200,000 on their house. Okay, so this is what they owe, and this is the value. Let's say the value is also $200,000. Well, that puts the homeowner in a difficult situation because if they can't afford the house, they also can't afford to sell it. Now, here's what I mean by that. If a homeowner is going to sell their house, it's going to typically cost them 6% of the sale in real estate commission, which is about $12,000, or exactly $12,000, which brings it down to $188,000. Now that, minus the commission, minus the closing costs, let's assume those are $3,000, and let's assume that you also have to pay $5,000 as a concession to the buyer because it's a down market. So now you're at $180,000. How many people do you know who live in a $200,000 house who have the difference, which is $20,000, just laying around that they can just make up out of their pocket? Probably not many, right? So, sorry about that close-up. I just had to adjust the camera. It didn't look like it was quite right. So, anyway, so obviously the homeowner is kind of in a bad situation. They're supposed to pay $20,000 just to get out from underneath of it. That's probably not going to happen. Well, let's look at it from the bank's perspective. If the value is $200,000 and they foreclose, well, nobody's going to buy it at an auction because who's going to pay $200,000 for a $200,000 house at an auction? Nobody, right? So the bank's going to take it back to an REO, a real estate owned property, and then they've got to get rid of it. I mean, now they are the ones, they're the owner, so now they have to pay for everything having to do with the house. They have to pay the mortgage, they pay the taxes, they have to pay the insurance, right? Mortgage, taxes, insurance. They eventually have to pay to market the property. They eventually have to pay the closing costs. They eventually have to pay the attorney's fees, eviction costs if necessary. And all of this is costing them money, right? So the mortgage, let's say the mortgage is $1,500 a month. They're going to hold on to this property in this market probably 9 to 12 months, just because it takes a while for the property to go from one department in the bank to another. First it's in the pre-foreclosure department, then it needs to move to the foreclosure department, then it needs to move to the REO department, then it needs to move to the marketing the REO department. All of this stuff takes time. It never happens on a dime, so this is going to take time, probably 9 to 12 months. So all the while they're paying this because they borrowed the money to pay out, right? Then the taxes, the insurance, as we said, the marketing, the closing costs, the attorney's fees. On average, a $200,000 house will net, after it goes through the whole foreclosure process, a $200,000 house will net a bank somewhere between $150,000 and $160,000. That's a loss to the bank of $40,000 to $50,000. Now, in addition to that, it's going to happen in 9 to 12 months is when they're going to get their money. Now, what if you, as a savvy investor, came along and said, hey, what if I give you $162,000 in 60 days? Which one is better? Which one would you take? Well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Because you get more money quicker than you would otherwise, right? So, the property is still worth $200,000. If you buy it for $162,000, then that's a gross profit of $38,000. Now you probably pay a realtor because that's the way you probably want to market it, and then you probably pay closing costs. But at the end of the day, you're probably looking at a $20,000 to $25,000 profit on a house like this. Now, here's the trick. Banks will try to intimidate you and try to make you think that they're all powerful. But really, it just comes down to numbers. I mean, and if you can walk through with them that their mortgage is X number of dollars and the value is X, right? Value is this. Their mortgage is this. It's going to be at least 9 to 12 months before they sell it. They have to pay their taxes and insurance. It just makes sense. At the end of the day, you subtract all those numbers out. You come up with a number somewhere in here, and you just say, look, which one do you want? Do you want to make maybe $160,000 in a year, or do you want to make $162,000 in 60 days? And if you want to get real savvy so that you don't have any risk at all, you can have someone else pay for the property. Have someone else come buy it for $200 so that you just net the difference. Anyway, so that's briefly why a bank would accept a short sale, and the brief answer is because it just makes sense. It just makes more financial sense for them to do that than to let it linger around in their inventory. Okay? Hopefully that is helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Bye.